Hey, my name is Mark. I'm 29. Until 6 months ago, I was just a broke math tutor trying to keep my lights on. Then, one Thursday night, a 9-year-old kid looked up at me in his mom's kitchen and asked, "Are you my mom's new husband?" Loud enough for her to hear from the sink. She turned around, dish towel in her hand, and didn't immediately say no. I could smell the citrus and jasmine candle burning in the hallway, hear the dishwasher humming in the background, feel the cold marble under my palms. That's when she finally told me the truth. She wasn't actually single. If you're watching this right now, tell me where you're from in the comments, because I still don't know if what we did was wrong. I still remember the exact sound the email notification made that Tuesday afternoon. That dull ping that usually meant another overdue bill or some spam about consolidating student loans I didn't have. But this time it was Denise, one of my regular clients, with a referral. Good pay, nice family. Kid needs help with math, gated community off Riverside. I read it 3 times sitting on my couch, staring at the stack of envelopes on my kitchen counter that I'd been ignoring for a week. My rent was late. Again. My credit card was doing that thing where the minimum payment somehow kept getting bigger while my balance barely moved. And I'd already picked up every tutoring gig I could find within a 20-minute drive of my apartment. Gated community. That meant money. Real money, not the $20 an hour cash under the table kind I was used to. I texted back that I was interested, and Denise sent me the mom's number with a note. She's basically a single mom. Works a lot. Kid's sweet but anxious. She'll pay well if you're consistent. The mom's name was Angela Brown. I Googled the neighborhood that night before I went to bed, pulled up the street view and just scrolled. Every house looked like something out of a magazine. Manicured lawns, stone facades, those little lanterns on either side of every front door. I could practically smell the HOA fees through the screen. My apartment had thin walls and a refrigerator that hummed too loud and a bathroom door that didn't quite close all the way. The gap between my world and theirs felt bigger than the 15-mile drive. But I called her anyway. Angela answered on the second ring. Her voice was polished, professional, the kind of voice that made you sit up straighter even over the phone. Hi, yes. Denise mentioned you might be able to help with my son. His name's Noah. He's 9, struggling with math, and honestly, he's been having a hard time with school in general lately. There was a pause. I could hear something in the background. Maybe a dishwasher, maybe just the hum of a big, quiet house. I work long hours, she continued. I'm in HR, and I'm basically doing this alone right now, so I need someone reliable, someone who shows up. I told her I'd show up. That I was good with anxious kids, that I could start whenever she needed. She scheduled me for Thursday evening, gave me the gate code, told me to text when I got close. I didn't sleep much that night. The first time I pulled into that neighborhood, I felt like an imposter. My car was 10 years old and made a rattling sound when I idled. The gate took forever to open, like it was deciding whether to let me in. I drove past houses with 3-car garages and landscaping that looked professionally watered. Angela's house was near the end of a cul-de-sac. Modern, clean lines, big windows, a yard so green it didn't look real. I parked on the street and checked my reflection in the rear-view mirror. Ran a hand through my hair, wondered if I should have worn something nicer than a hoodie and jeans. Before I even made it to the door, a woman's voice called out from the driveway next door. "Hey there, you new around here?" She was maybe late 30s, blonde, holding a yoga mat and smiling a little too wide. I gave her a polite wave and said I was just here to tutor. "Oh," she said, still smiling. "Angela's got someone coming by now? Good for her." There was something in her tone I couldn't quite place. Curiosity, maybe? Or judgment? I didn't know yet. I knocked. Angela opened the door, and I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting her. She was beautiful. Not in the Instagram influencer way, in the way that made you forget what you were about to say. She had dark skin, natural hair pulled back, and these eyes that looked tired but sharp. She was dressed for work. Blouse, slacks, heels that clicked softly on the hardwood as she stepped back to let me in. "Mark, right? Come in. Thank you for coming." The house smelled like citrus and jasmine. There was a candle burning somewhere in the hallway. Everything inside was clean and modern and expensive looking. Marble countertops, stainless steel appliances, a glass office in the corner with a laptop still open. And at the kitchen island, hunched over a workbook with a pencil in his hand, was Noah. He didn't look up when I walked in, just kept tapping the pencil against the page. Tap, 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 tap. Rhythmic, nervous. Angela walked over and put a hand on his shoulder. "Noah, this is Mr. Mark. He's going to help with your math." The boy finally looked up. Big brown eyes. Guarded. He nodded once but didn't say anything. Angela glanced at me, something apologetic in her expression. He's had a rough couple of months. We're working on it." She didn't elaborate. And I didn't ask. We agreed on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Early evenings, right after she got home from work. She mentioned again that she was basically a single mom, but she said it quickly, like she didn't want to explain. I told her I understood, even though I didn't. Not yet. That first session, Noah barely spoke, but by the end of the hour, he was smiling. Just a little. And when I left, Angela thanked me in a way that felt genuine, like she'd been holding her breath and finally let it out. I drove home that night and sat in my car in the parking lot for 10 minutes, staring at nothing. It felt different. That house, that kid, her. The next few weeks blurred together in the best way. Tuesdays and Thursdays became the anchors of my week. I'd show up right on time, knock twice, and Angela would open the door already halfway to her office, phone pressed to her ear, waving me toward the kitchen. Noah started opening up. Slowly. He'd make little jokes while we worked through fractions. He'd show me drawings he'd made at school. And when he got an answer right, he'd look up at me with this proud grin that made the whole hour worth it. I started noticing things. The way Angela always had a candle burning in the hallway. Citrus and jasmine. Every single time. The hum of the dishwasher running late into the evening, like she'd loaded it after dinner alone. The way her heels clicked across the floor when she moved from room to room, always busy, always working. And the way she looked at me sometimes. Just for a second. When I was explaining something to Noah and she was passing through the kitchen, like she was surprised I was still there. One Thursday, about 3 weeks in, she offered me a glass of water. I said yes. She poured 2 and leaned against the counter, still in her work clothes, and just sighed. "Long day?" I asked. "Every day's a long day?" She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "HR is just, it's a lot of other people's problems, and then I come home and there's a whole other set waiting." I didn't know what to say, so I just nodded. She kept talking. About work, about how she was always the one people complained to, about how exhausting it was to hold it together all day, and then come home and still have to be on for Noah. "Sorry," she said, laughing a little. "I don't usually unload on people." "It's fine," I said, and I meant it. Noah called from the table, needing help with a word problem, and the moment passed. But something shifted that night. She started staying in the kitchen more often during sessions, not hovering. Just there, watching us work. Smiling when Noah got something right. And then, one evening, she asked if I wanted to stay for dinner. It was pizza, nothing fancy. Just a box from the place down the street and paper plates on the marble island, but it felt normal. In a way I hadn't felt in a long time. Noah talked the whole time. About school, about a video game he was playing, about a kid in his class who kept stealing his pencils. Angela laughed more than I'd ever seen her laugh, and I realized how much younger she looked when she wasn't carrying the weight of everything. After we ate, Noah begged me to stay just 10 more minutes to help with one last problem. Those 10 minutes turned into 20, turned into a numbers game we made up on the spot that had him cracking up so hard he could barely breathe. When I finally left that night, Angela walked me to the door. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for not making me feel like a bad mom." I didn't know what to say to that, so I just told her she wasn't, that Noah was lucky. She smiled, a real one this time. And I drove home thinking about the way her shoulders had finally unclenched during dinner, the way the house had felt warm instead of empty. I sat in my car outside my apartment for a long time that night, staring at the flickering streetlight across the lot. Her world and mine didn't match. Not even a little. But sitting at that island with the warm glow of the under-cabinet lights and the hum of the dishwasher in the background, I didn't want to leave. A few weeks later, Angela started texting me outside of session hours. Nothing big, just little things. A meme about math. A question about whether Noah's homework looked right. A thank you for showing up on time when literally nobody else does. And then one Sunday afternoon, she asked if I could add a Saturday morning session. Just occasionally. When things got rough. I said yes. That first Saturday, I showed up, and she answered the door in sweats and a messy bun. No makeup, no work armor, just her. The house felt different on a weekend. Quieter, slower. She made pancakes while Noah and I worked at the island, and I could hear her humming softly by the stove. It was such a small thing, but it stuck with me. During the session, Noah asked me if I lived alone, if I liked their neighborhood, if I had kids. I answered honestly, yeah, I lived alone. No, I didn't have kids, and yeah, their neighborhood was nice. Really nice. He nodded, processing. And then, out of nowhere, he asked, "Are you my mom's new husband?" The spatula clattered against the pan. I froze. Angela spun around from the sink, eyes wide, dish towel still in her hand. Noah just blinked up at me, totally innocent, waiting for an answer. I laughed, tried to make it light. "I'm just your tutor, buddy." But my face was burning, and Angela wouldn't look at me. After Noah ran off to play in his room, Angela and I ended up alone at the island. She was gripping her coffee mug with both hands, staring down into it like she could find the right words at the bottom. "I'm sorry," she said finally. He's asked me that before. A couple times now." I didn't say anything. Just waited. "I didn't correct him the first time," she admitted quietly. "He smiled when he said it. And I didn't want to take that away from him." There was a long pause. The dishwasher hummed. A car drove past outside. And then she told me the truth. She wasn't single, not legally. She and Noah's dad, James, were separated. Trial separation. They had rules. No new partners around Noah. Strict schedules, counseling sessions. And if she violated any of it, he could use it against her. "I should have told you sooner," she said. "But I didn't think it would matter. You're just the tutor." "Just the tutor?" I nodded. Told her I understood. Told her I'd keep things professional. But when I drove home that night, I couldn't stop replaying Noah's question. "Are you my mom's new husband?" And the fact that Angela didn't immediately say no. over the next few weeks, I tried to pull back. I showed up, did the sessions, left right after. No more dinners, no more late-night texts, no more lingering at the door. Angela noticed. I could tell by the way she glanced up from her laptop when I kept my answers short. By the way Noah started testing limits, dragging his feet on assignments, trying to get me to stay longer. But I stayed firm, because I'd seen the look in her eyes when she told me about James, about the rules, about what could happen if she screwed this up, and I wasn't going to be the reason her life fell apart. But then, one Thursday, the session ran late because Noah procrastinated, and Angela insisted I take home leftovers, handed me a container with this look that lasted just a beat too long. I stepped out onto the porch, container in hand, and that's when I heard it. Karen's voice, loud, cheerful, cutting across the quiet cul-de-sac. "Wow, Angela, you don't waste time, do you?" I froze on the doorstep. Angela's laugh was too sharp, too fast. "He's just the tutor, Karen." But Karen was already smiling that smile, the one that said she didn't believe a word of it. I got in my car and drove away, hands gripping the wheel too tight, because I knew what that meant. The neighbors were watching, and once they started talking, they wouldn't stop. The next session, Angela apologized. She explained that the neighborhood likes to talk, that she needed to be extra careful, that people were already asking questions. We set new boundaries, stricter ones. But then, quietly, she asked if I'd consider staying for dinner once in a while, just when Noah had rough days. "For Noah," she said. "Not for me." I said yes, even though I knew it wasn't just for Noah, even though I knew I was stepping deeper into something I couldn't name, because the truth was, I didn't want to stay away. A month passed, then another. I became part of their routine, part of their evenings, part of the rhythm of that big, quiet house. Angela started opening up in fragments, about James, about how he used to travel constantly for work, about how she'd ended up doing everything alone, school, meals, homework, bedtime. And I found myself comparing, wondering what kind of man could have all this and just walk away from it. One night, Angela fell asleep on the couch after a brutal workday. Laptop half open, neck bent at an awkward angle, I gently woke her, told her good night, left. But as I pulled the door shut behind me, the jasmine candle still burning in the hallway, I realized something. I wasn't just the tutor anymore. I didn't know what I was. But it was more than that. And so was she. About 3 months into tutoring Noah, everything changed because of a school event I almost skipped. It started with me running into Noah's teacher by accident. I'd dropped off a worksheet at the school office one afternoon because Angela had texted, asking if I could swing by on my way to another client. And as I was leaving, this warm voice called out behind me. "Oh, you must be Mark." I turned. A woman in her mid-30s, dark hair, kind eyes. She was holding a stack of folders and smiling. "I'm Mrs. Patel, Noah's teacher. He talks about you all the time." My chest tightened a little. "Good things, I hope." "Very good things. His grades have really turned around, and he seems happier." She shifted the folders in her arms. "I'm so glad both of his parents are involved. We have family night coming up next week. Math games, activities. I hope you and Angela can both make it." I opened my mouth to correct her, to explain that I wasn't Noah's dad, that I was just the tutor. But she was already walking away, calling over her shoulder, "It's always so nice when both parents show up." That evening, I mentioned it to Angela during the session, tried to keep my tone casual. "I ran into Mrs. Patel today. She mentioned family night." Angela's whole body went rigid. She set down the water glass she'd been holding and just stared at the counter. "Yeah," she said quietly. "Family night." Noah perked up from the table. Are you and Dad both coming this year? Angela's jaw tightened. We'll see, baby. I have to check Dad's schedule. But I could see it in her face. She already knew he wouldn't come. After Noah went to take a shower, Angela told me the truth. James had missed more family nights than he'd attended, and every time she had to walk in alone while other couples came in holding hands, laughing, taking photos with their kids. I hate it, she admitted, leaning against the counter. I hate being the only one there. I hate the looks. I hate explaining where he is. I didn't know what to say, so I just listened. She pulled out her phone and sent James a text right there in front of me, asked him to confirm he'd be there, told him it was important to Noah. His reply came 10 minutes later. I'll try. Not, yes. Not, I'll be there. Just, I'll try. Angela closed her eyes, took a slow breath, and I watched her pull herself back together in real time. The day of family night, I was finishing up a session with another client when my phone started ringing, Angela's name on the screen. 3 calls in a row. I stepped outside and answered. Mark, I'm so sorry to call like this. Her voice was shaking. James just texted. He can't make it. Work thing. And Noah's in the car right now and he's already crying and I don't know what to do. I could hear Noah in the background. Quiet, hiccuping sobs. I know this is crossing a line, she continued. I know, but is there any way you could come? Just so he's not the only kid there without someone? I should have said no. I should have reminded her about the rules, about James, about the neighbors. But all I could hear was Noah crying. Yeah, I said. I'll be there. I raced home, changed into a clean shirt, and drove to the school with my heart pounding the whole way. Angela and Noah were already in the parking lot when I pulled up. Noah's face lit up the second he saw me. He practically jumped out of the car and ran over, grabbing my hand. You came! Angela walked over slowly, eyes glassy. Thank you. Thank you. We walked into the school together. The 3 of us, side by side. And the second we stepped into that buzzing cafeteria full of families, I felt every eye in the room land on us. Mrs. Patel greeted us at the door with that same warm smile. Oh, I'm so glad you both made it this time. Angela opened her mouth, hesitated, and then just smiled and nodded. She didn't correct her. And neither did I. We rotated through the game stations like we were a family. Noah held my hand and pulled me from table to table, laughing, showing off, proud. Angela walked beside us, and every once in a while our eyes would meet over Noah's head. I saw other parents watching, whispering. A couple of PTA moms with their phones out, snapping pictures of participating families for the school's social media page. And Karen. Karen was there, standing by the snack table with 2 other moms, watching us with that same tight smile. At one point, Angela and I ended up alone at the snack table, while Noah ran ahead to claim a spot at the next game. I should have corrected Mrs. Patel, Angela said quietly, staring down at her cup of lemonade. Why didn't you? She looked up at me. Because I didn't want Noah to feel different. Not tonight. There was something in her voice, something raw, and I realized we weren't just pretending for Noah. We were pretending for her, too. At the end of the night, Noah won a little participation prize, a cheap plastic trophy. But he held it like it was made of gold. He threw his arms around me in front of everyone, shouting, "We did it!" And over his head, Angela's eyes met mine. There was guilt there, and longing, and something that looked a lot like hope. We walked out to the parking lot together, Noah between us, holding both our hands for a few steps before he let go and ran ahead to the car. Angela and I walked side by side in silence. and for just a moment, it felt real. Angela offered to drive me back to my car, which I'd left at her house earlier. Noah passed out in the back seat within minutes, clutching his trophy. The radio played softly. Streetlights flickered across Angela's face as we drove through the quiet suburb. "Thank you," she said again. "For tonight. I know it was a lot. I'm glad I came." She glanced over at me. "People are going to talk." "I know." At a red light, her hand brushed mine on the center console. Just for a second, but neither of us pulled away. When we got back to her house, she asked if I'd mind carrying Noah inside. He was too heavy for her to lift alone. I carried him up the stairs, feeling his weight, his trust, the way he curled into my shoulder. I tucked him into bed, pulling the superhero blanket up to his chin, and for a second, I just stood there looking down at him. Downstairs, Angela was waiting in the kitchen. She'd made tea. We sat at the island talking quietly, about the night, about how long she'd been doing this alone, about how much it meant that someone finally showed up. And then we ended up on the couch, reviewing some of Noah's upcoming assignments, sitting close, sharing a blanket because the house was cold. Our shoulders touched. The silence stretched. We both leaned in. And then Noah cried out from upstairs. The spell broke. Angela jumped up, rushing to his room. I stood there in the dark living room, heart pounding, knowing we'd been seconds away from something we couldn't take back. When she came back down, Noah was calm. False alarm. Bad dream. But the moment was gone. I left, stepped out into the cold night, got in my car, and drove home knowing that nothing about this was just tutoring anymore. Over the next 2 weeks, Angela and I started texting more, late at night, after Noah was asleep. She'd send me pictures of him passed out with a worksheet still on his nightstand, jokes about math, vents about work, and I'd respond. Every time. We fell into a new rhythm, dinner first, then homework. Then I'd help get Noah ready for bed while Angela finished up emails. One night, Noah had another nightmare. He asked if I could sit with him until he fell back asleep. I did. And when I came back downstairs, Angela was on the couch. Exhausted, she patted the cushion next to her. We talked in whispers, about her fears, about mine, about how neither of us had expected this. We shared a blanket, sat close. And when I looked over at her, her face was inches from mine. We almost kissed. Again. But this time, Noah appeared in the doorway, wrapped in his superhero blanket, asking if I was staying over. Angela walked me to the door. We didn't say anything. We didn't have to. The line between us was so thin now you could barely see it. The next morning, Angela was at work when her phone started buzzing with notifications. The parents' group chat. Someone had posted photos from family night. There was one of her, me, and Noah at a math station. Laughing, looking like a family. And the comments underneath were brutal. Jokes about her moving on fast, speculation about the young guy, emojis that stung. Karen sent her a private message, screenshots, framed like concern, but really just gossip dressed up as care. That evening, Angela was different, tense, distant. She told me the parents were talking, that she needed to be more careful. I told her I understood. But Noah could feel the tension. He clung to me more than usual, made extra jokes, tried to get us both to relax. And then there was a knock at the door. Angela opened it. James was standing there, phone in hand, jaw tight. He'd seen the photos. James stepped into the hallway, started arguing with Angela in low, clipped tones. I stayed in the kitchen with Noah, trying to distract him with a numbers game. But I could hear fragments. Parading some kid in front of our son. You're replacing me. This violates our agreement. Noah looked up at me, confused, scared. I told him I had to go, that I'd see him soon. But I didn't make any promises. I slipped out the side gate, walked to my car, heard the raised voices from inside as I drove away. That night, I sat in my apartment staring at my phone, debating whether to text her, ask if she was okay. I typed out 5 different messages, deleted them all. And then, hours later, my phone buzzed. Angela. One text. We need to stop tutoring. For Noah, please don't reply. I stared at it for a long time. I tried calling. She didn't pick up. I hovered over the keyboard, wanted to fight it, wanted to tell her this wasn't fair. But I remembered the rules, the separation, the threat James could hold over her. So I deleted my reply, put the phone face down, and realized I wasn't just losing a client, I was losing a family I'd almost had. 2 weeks passed like a fog. I picked up more clients to cover the lost income, tutored bored teenagers whose parents barely looked at me, sat in kitchens that were too loud or too cold or too empty. Nothing felt right. I'd scroll past Angela's contact, check Noah's grades online through the school portal. They were holding steady. For now. I drove near the gated neighborhood a few times, told myself it was just the fastest route. But I'd slow down near the entrance, stare at the street sign, and then force myself to keep driving. One night, I sat in my car outside my apartment and imagined their house. That exact hour, Noah's homework, Angela's heels, the dishwasher humming, and I felt like a ghost. A month later, I saw them. I was at a coffee shop on a Saturday afternoon, grading papers, when I heard Angela's laugh. I looked up. She was walking in with James and Noah. They looked like a family. Dressed nice. James leaning in to say something. Angela smiling politely. Noah talking, animated. I ducked behind my laptop. Watched them from the corner of my eye. They ordered drinks, sat by the window, and I thought, this is good. They worked it out. Noah's okay, but it hurt worse than I expected. When Angela's gaze swept the room, our eyes almost met. I looked away first, packed my things, slipped out into the rain. And that night, I recorded a voice memo on my phone instead of texting her. Said things I'd never send. About how walking away from a family that was never mine hurt worse than my last breakup. How I still thought about the jasmine candle and the dishwasher hum and the way Noah laughed when he got an answer right. I listened to it once, then deleted it. Tried to convince myself it was over. 3 weeks after the coffee shop, my phone buzzed at 2:13 a.m. I was half asleep. Saw Angela's name. My heart stopped. A photo. Noah, asleep, clutching a crumpled worksheet, my handwriting on it. Her text. He still keeps your old sheets under his pillow. He thinks you just took a break. I sat up in bed, stared at the screen, typed 5 responses, erased them all. Finally sent, "Is he okay?" 3 dots appeared immediately, and then my phone rang. We talked for over an hour. She told me everything. How James had moved back in after she cut me off. How they'd tried counseling. How it lasted 2 months before he slipped back into old patterns. Long hours, missed dinners, checked out. And then he moved out again. "I saw you," she admitted, "at the coffee shop. That day we came in." My throat tightened. "I thought you got back together." That was the last family outing we did before he left again. I was pretending it was working. But it wasn't. It never was. She apologized for cutting me off with no explanation. Said she was scared. Of James, of the rumors, of her own feelings. And then, quietly, she asked if we could meet. Talk about Noah. Maybe about the tutoring. I said yes before I could think about it. The next afternoon, we met at a playground. Overcast sky. Empty except for a few kids in the distance. Angela pulled up with Noah. The second Noah saw me, he ran. Full speed. Nearly knocked me over with a hug. "I missed you so much." I held him tight. Felt something in my chest crack open. Angela stood by the fence, arms wrapped around herself, watching. We played for a while. I pushed Noah on the swing, made math jokes, listened to him talk non-stop about everything I'd missed. Then Angela and I sat on a bench while Noah ran to the slide. She explained the timeline, the counseling, the failure, the final move-out. "Noah won't let me hire another tutor," she said. "He says it's not the same." She looked at me. "Would you consider coming back? Strictly as his tutor. We'd have rules. Real ones this time. No late nights, no school events, doors open, professional." I thought about it. About the risk. About how hard it had been to walk away the first time. But then I looked at Noah, waving at me from the top of the slide. "Yeah," I said. "I'll come back." A few days later, I drove through the gated entrance again. Parked in front of Angela's house. Walked up to the door. The jasmine candle was burning. Noah greeted me like no time had passed. Pulled me straight to the table. Angela kept her distance at first. Stayed visible. Professional. But there were moments. Brief eye contact. A shared smile when Noah made a joke. Hands brushing when passing a plate. The rules were clearer this time. But the feelings weren't. Over the next 6 weeks, we rebuilt the routine. Slowly, carefully. Noah's grades improved again. Angela stayed in visible spaces. We kept conversations about Noah and logistics. But the neighborhood gossip faded. Karen kept her distance. And Angela seemed lighter than before. One evening, Mark was offered a full-time job at a tutoring center across town. Better pay, more stability, but less flexibility. He didn't mention it to Angela at first, wrestled with it alone, but eventually he told her. She listened, told him to choose what was best for him. Noah overheard, thought Mark was leaving again, cried himself to sleep. That night, Angela texted, asked if they could talk before he decided. They had a long phone call. Mark admitted he didn't want to hurt Noah again, that this had become more than just a job. They worked out a compromise. He'd take the new position but keep one weekly session with Noah. It wasn't perfect, but it left the door open. The following Thursday, I arrived at the usual time. The candle was lit. The dishwasher hummed. Noah was at the table, pencil in hand. The session went smoothly. Angela circulated between rooms. We fell into the rhythm like we always had. After we finished the worksheet, Noah started teasing me. "You're here all the time now." And then, with that same innocent bluntness, he looked up and asked, "So, are you my mom's new husband or what?" The room went quiet. Angela froze by the counter. I met her eyes across the marble island. There was everything unspoken between us. The separation, the rumors, the late-night calls, the new rules. I laughed softly, deflected. "I'm your tutor, kiddo. That's my official title." But my eyes stayed on Angela's for a beat too long. As I packed up to leave, Angela walked me to the door. We didn't touch, but there was something soft in her voice. "We'll figure out the schedule," she said. "Thank you for not disappearing." I nodded. Stood on the porch for a moment, hand on the doorknob. And I thought, I still don't know what she told him that night. But every time I knock on that door now, it feels less like a job and more like a question we're both still answering. I looked back through the window. The lit kitchen, the quiet cul-de-sac. And I walked to my car knowing I'd be back. Not because I had to, because I couldn't stay away. Some homes you work in, some homes you never really leave.